Welcome to the Visual Basic Instructional Series. This video will introduce us to the button control. Starting with a new project, select the form, and as always we want to name the form using the name property, and we'll call this name FRM button example as shown here. Then we want the title bar of our form to be different than form 1, so select text and type in a new name, and we're going to just call this the button control example. And I need to correct a typo, so we'll place the cursor there and type another T, and now you'll see that the title bar reads button control example. Always do that when you have a new form. Now let's add a button. Select button in the toolbox and we'll draw it out on the form. In the properties window, click name, and let's name the button BTN ONE. To set the words that the button reads, then click text and then type in please push me. Notice that the button text does not change on the form until we hit return or enter. The button is not big enough to show the entire text that we put there, so let's expand it a little bit and reposition it. Now let's change the look of the font. On the properties window, click font, click the ellipsis, and that brings up this dialog box which has the font face, the font style, and the size. We want to make this Times New Roman, so if I just begin to type Times up at the top, then it jumps to where all the font faces that begin with a T show up. We want regular and we want size 12. So selecting those, our font changes on the button, and we can see how this looks by clicking the little green arrow. And here's what the interface looks like. So when you click on the button, it does appear to change, that it looks like it depresses into the form as a button really would if you pushed it. Okay, stop the execution by clicking the X, and now let's go back to the properties. We want to add what's called an access key. So go down to the text property, make sure the button is chosen, and right before the first P we're going to type an ampersand. Now when we do this, we're going to have an underline underneath the P. So let's click the green arrow to start up our interface again, to execute our program or to run it, and then hit the Alt key, and when you do that you'll see an underscore appear underneath the P. So if this were really a functional button, we now just would have to type a P on the keyboard to make the action happen, the same as it would be if we clicked it with the cursor. Okay, now let's resize the button. So choose a sizing handle, make it really big, and notice the text is in the middle of the button right now. To change that, we can choose the text align property. So select that, click the little arrow on the right, and now you've got 9 buttons that allow you to align the text. Top, middle, right, the middle, left, middle, or right, or at the bottom, left, middle, or right. So just by clicking these, you can rearrange the alignment of the text for the button, and this will also be true for the label control. Okay, put it back in the top middle like that. Now in the middle as we found it, or with the way it began, and let's make the button small again. Now let's add another button to our form. So I clicked once and I'm going to draw it out like that. Always start out with the name property, give it a name. So we're going to call this BTN2, just TWO. Let's scroll down to the text property, and we're going to just make this read stop. So type in STOP. So now we have 2 buttons. Let's change the font face. We'll select font, click the ellipsis on the right, and we have the dialog box. We're going to make the font Arial, bold, and size 10. Click OK. So now we have that. We want to change the background color on the button. So we choose the back color property, and we click the arrow to get the swatches of colors, and then we'll click the color that we want, which is kind of a light red. If we want to change the color of the text itself, we choose the For Color property, click the little the little arrow on the right, and we get the swatches again, and we're going to make this green. So now the word stop is in green and the background is a reddish color. So back color and For Color are the properties you need to do that. Now let's add a third button to the form. When we do that, go to the name property, use the standard prefix btn, and we're going to just name this button 3. Scroll down to the text, and this time we're going to delete the text, so just highlight it and hit enter. And now here we have a button with no text on it at all. We're going to add an image this time as our background. So to do that, find the image property and click the little ellipsis on the right, and you get this dialog box. Select a local resource and click the import button. Now we need to locate a folder that has some images in it. These could be JPEGs or GIF images. So I have some, so I'm navigating to my folder, and I'm going to select a smiley face. So I just did this by clicking on the image, and then I click OK. And if that was too fast, then you can back up the video and then stop it. So anyway, this is how you add an image to the form. Use the image property and just navigate to an image somewhere on your computer, and then just click that image. So now our button has a smiley face. If you want to remove the image, then select the button, go to the image property, click the ellipsis, and click clear. It disappears from there, and it disappears from your button. Now let's do this again with a different image. The image property, click the ellipsis, select local resource, select import. Find a folder with some images, select the one you want, and click open. A preview shows up there. If it's what you want, click OK. If not, click clear and go find another image. So now I've added a stop sign to the third button. So now we have 3 buttons. Let's run our program to see what it looks like. So here's the interface we created. It's executing. You can click each one of these buttons. Nothing happens right now because there's no action that we've added behind them. So you just have the appearance of the button doing something, being depressed. Okay, now we're finished. We're going to save all of our files. Under File, Save All. That will save everything to the folder that we chose when we first started up the project. And this completes the introduction to the button control.